Hi guys, and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron, and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the game review to Everton's 2-2 draw with Tottenham Hotspur at Goodison Park on Friday. It feels like an absolute age ago since Everton turned up and played Tottenham Hotspur at Goodison Park, and obviously a lot has changed in the world of football since then as well. We've already done a couple of live streams this afternoon talking about the new European Super League and all of that stuff. So if you haven't checked those out after this one, if you could check those out, it would mean a great deal to me. But I thought, look, we best had sit down, we best had talk about the game on Friday, because we do a review for every game. So, even despite everything that's gone on over the last 24 hours or so, even despite the fact that football's up in the air at the moment, we've still got to sit down and review Everton games. And ultimately, look, Everton aren't part of the European Super League, and Everton aren't one of those teams that have decided to turn their back on everybody and go and create their new league. And so we're just going to sit down and talk about the game as we do in every game review. Now, obviously, I say, we've mentioned the European Super League a lot this afternoon, and we're not going to talk much about it again in this live stream, but it is difficult to not bring it into conversation because, I was sitting there on Friday night, and obviously we've done the instant match reaction, we've done the player ratings, and I was sort of sitting there on Friday night and I thought, you know what, I'm a little bit disappointed with that result. I'm a little bit disappointed in the fact that I thought and I felt at that time that Everton's hopes for the European finish this season might be over. I felt like a win was needed against Tottenham, and although I felt like we performed a lot better, we still ended up being frustrated at the end of the day, and that was because we ended up dropping two big valuable points through silly defensive errors, and ultimately not taking our chances up the other end of the pitch either, and that was ultimately the biggest frustration on Fridays. We were all sort of sitting there thinking, are Everton going to finish in the European competition now? Are we going to be able to get some momentum? 3 draws on the bounce, obviously, against Palace, Brighton, and now Tottenham. Now everything's been sort of thrown up in the air, of course, with what's gone on over the last 24 hours or so. Again, it is really difficult because, 2 days ago on Friday, if I'd have done the game review, on Saturday night, I'd be sitting here saying, I don't think Everton are going to finish in Europe. I don't think we've got the consistency. I think we needed to be a lot better. We needed to win that game to leapfrog Tottenham. Now, obviously, we're sitting here, and depending on what the Premier League decide to do, depending on if this whole Super League malarkey goes ahead, then Everton could comfortably finish in Europe on the basis that we're in and around those positions, and the teams that are above us, the majority of them are getting kicked out anyway. But I'm still, I still feel like we should discuss the overall overriding feeling after the Spurs game, and that was disappointment. Everton needed to turn up and win that game, and as much as we performed a lot better than we have done in recent weeks, and we actually attacked Tottenham Hotspur, we got at them, we fought them, and Tottenham had nothing in the game. By the way, let's get it right. Tottenham were dreadful, absolutely dreadful. He had 2 chances on goal, and he might have had 3 shots on target. 2 of them went in, and 2 of them were absolutely gifted to arguably the best striker in world football, certainly one of the top 2 or 3 best strikers in world football. You cannot give Harry Kane the chances that we gave him on the 6-yard box and expect him to not put them in the back of the net. Other than that, Tottenham were dreadful. They had absolutely nothing. They didn't threaten us once. They didn't create anything themselves. So that just adds to the frustration of a result like this. Is when you draw 2-2 to Tottenham at Goodison Park, it's not the worst result ever. It's not, oh my God, end the world, I want to get off. Everton have been awful at Goodison Park this season, and to draw 2-2 against a team like Tottenham isn't necessarily the worst result. We haven't beat them for however long at home, but other than in the FA Cup, in the league, but it's the way in which it happened, of course. The 2 defensive mistakes, the fact that Tottenham had nothing in the game other than that, the fact that Everton had other chances to go on and win it, that's what brought the frustration. And again, as much as it was a better performance and it was refreshing to see Everton turn up and actually, step up to a team and show that we can go toe-to-toe with the sides that are in and around us, it still ultimately has ended up in frustration. But we're going to talk about the game anyway in all of its detail. Like I said, it was frustrating, it was disappointing, but ultimately, we have to take the positives from it, and there was a lot of positives that I want to talk about in this live stream. There's a lot of really, really good performance. Thought Alan was back to his best, back to 100% Alan, and the player that we brought in the summer, he was absolutely excellent. James Rodriguez was absolutely unbelievable. He was fantastic. Gylfi Sigurdsson had a brilliant game. He was brilliant as well. So there was a lot of positives. Ben Godfrey was unbelievable. I think Tom Davies had a decent game. Richarlison's work rate was there. But two ultimately defensive errors have cost us what was a big win, and as the title of this live stream says, another missed opportunity, because it is, even disregarding what may or may not happen with football now. And I know you might come into this live stream and say, well, it's not another missed opportunity, Cam, because all of those teams are going away, and Everton are going to finish in the Champions League, blah blah blah, which, look, if Everton finish in the Champions League, that's great, that was the goal, and ultimately it's been a little bit strange how we've managed to do it, but if we do it, then great, fantastic. Not that I want the Super League to happen, by the way, but again, Everton aren't involved in it, but you sort of have to look at it and think it was another missed opportunity by the mere fact that on Friday night we were all sort of sitting there thinking we really needed to win that one. We'd have leapfrogged Tottenham with the 3 points, would have gone above them into 7th place, still with a game in hand as well. And obviously we're now currently still 1 point behind them, which is exactly where we were before the game. So it's frustrating, it's disappointing. Obviously Carlo Ancelotti started a strong Everton team. It didn't have Dominic Calvert-Lewin in it, which we already knew. Andre Gomez wasn't involved because he felt like he wasn't on 100% fitness, so Carlo Ancelotti decided to take him out. But it did see the return of Alan. It saw the return of Jordan Pickford as well. Carlo Ancelotti went with Jordan Pickford in goal, Luca Dean at left back, a back sort of line of Michael Keane, Mason Holgate and Ben Godfrey, and we had Alex Iwobi at right wing back for some strange reason. We had a midfield of James Rodriguez, Andre Gomez. Sorry, not Andre Gomez. No, we had the midfield of Gylfi Sigurdsson, James Rodriguez and Tom Davies and Alan, and then of course we had Richarlison up front on his Todd. And I actually think for the first half, I thought Richarlison worked really, really well, to be honest. I don't think he got a lot of praise, but I think his work rate was magnificent, and he does that a lot, Richarlison, when he's asked to play in that lone striker position. I do feel a little bit for Richie, because I think he prefers to play as a striker. I think he sees himself as a striker, but I also think that he only ever really plays striker when he's on his own, and we sort of play that formation where he's just isolated for the entire game, and I do feel sorry for him in that sense, because I think when Richie says he wants to play up front, he sort of means he wants to play next to Dominic Calvert-Lewin like he was towards the back end of last season, whereas recently it's sort of just been him up front on his own, and everything just gets lashed up to him and he has to do all of the work. Big thanks for joining us, by the way. If you are joining us live, please do hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. We will get involved in the comments shortly. But yeah, Carlo Ancelotti set up with a back five, which just obviously evidently so after the game and with the mistakes. I just really, really don't like a back five, if I'm being honest with you. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You can probably find streams or videos on the channel where I've said it before. I do not think Everton defend well in a back five whatsoever. I think Michael Keane struggles in a back five. I think Mason Holgate struggles in a back five. I even think Yerry Mina, even though he obviously didn't play because he's been injured, as much as I think Yerry Mina's probably our best centre-half with the exception of Ben Godfrey, I think he struggles in a back five as well. I just don't think defensively we're very good in that formation whatsoever. Going forward, yes, it benefits us going forward because we can have the wing backs and we can get forward and we can attack, but defensively I just think it causes so much confusion. Players just don't seem to know what their role is, what they're supposed to be doing, where they are positional wise, and that was evidently on show on Friday night. The 2 goals that Tottenham scored were 2 awful defensive errors, but not only were the awful defensive errors, they were 2 errors that showed that both, well, 2 out of the 3 centre-backs that were playing in that back 3 or 5, whatever you want to call it, positional-wise, were dreadful. For the first one, Michael Keane believes that he's got a chance to head the ball. It goes completely over him. He's in the wrong area. Mason Holgate's basically on his arse. Harry Kane gets the first goal and gets the shot on target and scores the first goal. And for the second goal, Michael Keane heads it into the back of Mason Holgate. They seem to just stand too close to each other, and then they leave miles of space for the opposition to run into, and then they create mistakes like was on Friday where they're bumping into each other and they're causing us goals. I just don't like the back five, and I get that Carlo Ancelotti has said that whilst we've got injuries, it's the most suitable formation, and I understand that. I understand that a back four leaves the midfield massively exposed without Abdoulaye Doucouré in it. I get it. If you play a back four, it means you've got more emphasis on your central midfield. And whilst Abdoulaye Doucouré isn't in that central midfield, Everton struggle. Whereas if you play a back five, the more emphasis is on your wider players. And yeah, your midfield maybe is a little bit more bypassed by the opposition. I don't know, but ultimately, like I said, I don't like a back five, and that was the first. I didn't have an issue with the team. I didn't have an issue with the way in which we set up, because I knew Tottenham had been in pretty poor form recently. I've just sacked Jose Mourinho today. Don't think it was anything to do with football, result reasons, but there you go. Some people seem to think it was to do with that. I personally don't. But Tottenham, ultimately, Jose Mourinho, by the way, another manager to get sacked after dropping points to Everton. How many does that add to the list? There must be a lot of managers that have lost their job directly after dropping points to Everton Football Club. If somebody can compile a list of those, it'd be interesting to see. But ultimately, like I said, that back five for me doesn't work. The defenders that play in it, specifically Michael Keane, who I think is shown it more than the others in the past, is that he just doesn't seem comfortable in there. He doesn't seem confident in there. I think it may be a little bit too much responsibility for Michael Keane. I think he likes how it is, whereas speaking of Jose Mourinho, the special one says hi with the Jose Mourinho picture I made. We will get in the comments in a moment, but I just think it may be a little bit too much responsibility. I think Michael Keane likes to be one of two centre-backs where he knows his job, he knows his role, it's quite simple. I also think he likes being next to Yerry Mina, to be honest. I think he maybe thinks when he's with Mason Holgate, he has to do a little bit of mentoring, if you like, and that takes the focus off his own game. But yeah, like I said, I just don't think we work as a five at the back. I don't think defensively we work, and that was blatantly on show. But Everton started quite well. We started quite fast. You could see, I think, from the off, that there was a difference in the way in which we were playing. There was a difference in the style in which we were playing. Usually, you can tell with Everton, certainly at the moment, in the first 5 or 10 minutes of a game, you can really tell when Everton are going to sit back and it's just going to be a ball fest. You could see it night as day. If you go and watch the Brighton game again, and I'm sure no one wants to go and watch the Brighton game again because it was an absolute shocker, but if you go and watch the Brighton game again, you can actually see within the first 5 or 10 minutes the way in which we set up it's not going to do anything for us. You knew as soon as we set up the way we did, that game was going to be a 0-0. You just knew that was the case. And whereas on Friday, it was different. We set up and we looked like we wanted to get at Tottenham. We looked like we actually wanted to attack. We looked like we had a little bit of maybe a chip on our shoulder. We wanted to get at them. And again, I go back to previous Everton performances this season and against teams like Tottenham away from home, Liverpool at Anfield, Chelsea and Arsenal at Goodison. Everton seem to be turning up in these games against these teams that we know we have to turn up in. Everton knew on Friday night, those players knew, Carlo Ancelotti knew that we couldn't turn up and perform like we did against Brighton against that Tottenham team, because even though that Tottenham team is poor, and it is poor, let's have it right. I mean, the ironic thing about them going into a European Super League is the fact that they've got no European history whatsoever, but without disrespecting Tottenham, that's a poor Tottenham team. That was a very, very beatable Tottenham team who were there for the taking on Friday night. But Carlo Ancelotti still knew that even despite that, they have a lot more quality in their attack than Brighton do, than Crystal Palace do. And let's be perfectly honest, if Brighton had a little bit more about them 2 weeks ago, they'd have beaten us comfortably. It was only the fact that Brighton didn't have enough quality whatsoever, and they haven't got enough quality, that they didn't beat us. Everton didn't do anything in that game to deserve to win it, and in fact, Brighton had 4, 5, 6 attacks from memory, where if they had a little bit more quality in the end of it, they'd have scored and would have lost. So Carlo Ancelotti and this Everton team seem to have knew that if we were to play like we did against Brighton, we'd lose this game, because Tottenham would have the same amount of attacks, if not more, as they did, and they've actually got the quality in those attacks to finish it, as proven with Harry Kane's 2 goals, Son starting, likes of Ndombele in the midfield, and they've got a lot of attacking players they could have brought on off the bench as well. But so we turned up, and it was a different sort of Everton. It was an Everton that we've all been crying to see for weeks, and ultimately that's the frustration. That this game, talking about this game, is exactly the embodiment of frustration for Everton Football Club this season and Everton fans this season. And that embodiment is, we know when we need to turn up and the way we can play when we turn up, but we just don't do it against the teams that, if we did do it against, would be 12, 15 points better off this season. And it wouldn't even be a discussion about, oh, if there's a European Super League, Everton might finish in the Champions League. That wouldn't even be a discussion. If we turned up like we did on Friday against Brighton the week before, against Palace the week before that, against Fulham at Goodison Park, against Newcastle away and at home, there wouldn't be no discussion about Everton potentially finishing in the Champions League place, because we'd already be up there, and we'd know we'd be finishing in the Champions League place, European Super League or not. And that, like I said, that is the embodiment of the frustration of Evertonians this season, is that in games like Friday, when we know, okay, you know, we have to turn up a little bit here, we have to give a little bit more, we have to show a little bit more, we have to be better. We turn up and we get at Tottenham and we force them into making mistakes, and we show a bit of energy and we show a bit of pace and we show a bit of passion. Why can't we do that? Why against Brighton did we look like 11 fellas who hadn't kicked the ball in 10 years just come together and play the game of footy? Why couldn't we put that same ethic and mentality into the Brighton games we did in the Tottenham game? But anyway, we're not talking about Brighton. Yeah, you could see from the off that Everton were sort of up to it. We were at the races on Friday. We wanted to get at Tottenham. We wanted to hurt Tottenham. We created a chance really, really early on. I think James played Richarlison in, and he had a shot, and I think he took it a little bit too far out, and it ended up being a comfortable save for Lloris. But we exploited the space that Tottenham Hotspur left in that midfield. Every time they got the ball, we were quick to them. We were pressing them. We were actually stepping up, something that you haven't seen Everton do much this season whatsoever. Even in the games that we've played well in, the majority of those games have been hitting teams on the counter-attack and being very clinical. One thing that we haven't seen a lot from Everton this season, maybe even Leeds away being the only time we've seen it, is actually Everton stepping up and putting pressure on teams when they've got the ball and forcing teams into making mistakes with a high press, and that's what we were doing on Friday night. Like I said, you can see from the first 10 or 15 minutes, we were at it. We wanted to win the game. It seemed like it meant something to those players. It seemed like they desperately wanted to go out and prove a point, and we looked really, really good. We looked in control. Yes, Tottenham might have had a little bit of the ball, but they didn't do anything with the ball. We defended quite well. We got at them. We challenged them, and like I said, when we come forward, we done it with pace, and we done it with energy, and it was good to see. It was refreshing to see. It was refreshing to see this Everton team actually putting in a performance for once. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do leave a like. We will get in the comments in a moment. I want to talk about some of the individual performances in that as well before we go into the goals and a little bit more about the game in itself. Alan on Friday, I thought was absolutely exceptional. Hasn't had a lot of, I haven't seen many people talking about Alan on Friday, to be honest with you. Special one says founding clubs have signed a 23-year commitment to the new Super League. I haven't seen that. I'm sure there's loads of Super League information and news going on in the background. If anything does come through, let us know in the comments. Just drop me pen there. Let me pick that up. If anything does come through, let me know in the comments. Keep me updated on it, because I haven't got my phone or I haven't got anything open. So I'm sure there's going to be loads of information throughout the course of this stream. But yeah, like I said, Everton looked like they had a point to prove. They looked like they wanted to get out and get at Tottenham. Alan was exceptional, absolutely exceptional. It wasn't much made about him in the post games from what I've seen people talking about and stuff. But I thought he was back to the Alan that we signed in the summer. I thought he was back to the Alan prior to his 2 or 3 month injury, and we haven't seen that Alan since his return. By the way, Alan returned and he hasn't put in bad performances. He hasn't necessarily been bad, but he certainly hasn't been anywhere near the level as to what he was prior to that injury. He hadn't been anywhere near the level of what he was, when he first signed, before he had that long period out. Whereas on Friday, he was at that level. He was absolutely exceptional. He was everywhere. He was picking the ball up. He was holding it up. He was playing it off. He was winning the ball back in dangerous areas. He was throwing the challenges in. He was pressing Tottenham high. And I think that type of style suits Alan, to be honest with you. We all knew when we signed him, and we know from the the opening few weeks of the season, Alan's a pit bull. He's a little pit bull. He's a little dog in the middle of that midfield. He bites at ankles. He picks the ball off players. He wins fouls. He brings it forward. Alan's type, Alan's style, Alan as a player, for me anyway, people might think I'm just chatting out my bottom here, but for me anyway, the type of player that Alan is doesn't suit a sit-back counter-attack style of football. He just doesn't, because he's not very fast. So if teams get at us, he's not really got an awful lot of pace. And ultimately, as much as you might think he does suit that style of football, that sit back and counter attack, I don't think he does, because I just think he gets exposed, and I don't think he's fast enough on the counter-attack for us to exploit that. I think Alan suits the style of play where whenever the opposition team has the ball, we press dead high and we get at them and we get on their toes and we break them down and we throw the challenges in and we pick the ball back up. And then when we get the ball, he sort of just slots back into that position because he can pass the ball. He can actually bring it forward. He bulldozed his way forward a couple of times on Friday, and I was really, really impressed with it. And like I said, when we play with that, right, when we lose the ball, we're straight back at them, we're pressing them, we're putting them on the toes. I just think he performs a lot better than when he does when we're sort of sitting back and, you know, if you like, wishing teams onto us. He was exceptional. He was absolutely incredible on Friday night. He was back to the Alan that we signed in the summer, that we knew was going to come in and make an impact on this Everton team. James Rodriguez, I mean, I don't really have to sit here and convince anybody of how good of a footballer James Rodriguez was. One thing I would certainly say about Friday's performance, though, in the same vein, in the same way in which I say it was back to 100% Alan, that was 100% James Rodriguez on Friday night. That was a James Rodriguez who's completely fit, raring to go, and got, you know, maybe a little bit of a chip on his shoulder himself to go out and prove and to be a part of this Everton team that fight for Europe in the remaining few games of the season. He was everywhere. He was absolutely everywhere. He was exceptional. Absolutely exceptional on Friday night. And look, like I said, I don't need to sit here and convince anybody about how good of a footballer James Rodriguez is. I don't need to sit here and talk about how amazing he is every week, because he puts those type of performances in, week out. But one thing I was really, really impressed with was his sheer passion and determination to win that game of football, his sheer passion and determination to get Everton forward, to create chances. He had a shot on his own, of his own in the first half that, you know, arguably he should have done better with. But his sheer determination to get forward and to create chances was on show on Friday night. And whereas that was on show against Brighton as well, and Palace, no, it was Brighton, wasn't it? Whereas that was on show against Brighton, I do sort of feel like he was the only player who was showing that type of determination and fight against Brighton, whereas there was a lot of other players showing it on Friday night against Spurs. Gylfi Sigurdsson, again, Gylfi Sigurdsson gets a lot of stick from Evertonians, a lot of stick, and he's had a lot of stick this season, and understandably so. I don't think he's had a bad season this season, but I don't think he's been unbelievable at times. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. But on Friday, that is the type of Gylfi Sigurdsson performance that I want to see week in, week out. That is the Gylfi Sigurdsson that we know he can be. Not only his 2 goals, we'll talk about his 2 goals a little bit later on as we talk about the goals, but his overall play, again, he was everywhere. He didn't put a foot wrong. Passing was brilliant. His second goal, Jeebus, his second goal is absolutely unbelievable, mate. I don't think people quite understand how difficult it is technically to score a goal like that, to open your body when the ball's coming at you with pace and fizz, to open your body, move your foot out and just guide the ball. I don't think people understand how difficult that is. It was an exceptional finish. Like I said, his overall play was brilliant. He was everywhere. He was picking the ball up. Him and James Rodriguez were linking together perfectly and showing that there's a potential for a connection there. Look, if Gylfi Sigurdsson signed... There you go. We're back. Little bit of a technical issue there. Again, to be fair, the computer's just done a couple of 1 hour streams there with no interruption whatsoever. So, yeah, basically what I was saying then is if we do see Gylfi Sigurdsson stay on for longer than this season, and even if we don't, even if he leaves at the end of the season, I hope to see before now and then that connection with him and James Rodriguez a lot more, because it was brilliant. Ben Godfrey, Tom Davies, both done really well. Ben Godfrey, again, I don't have to sit here and talk about him. He is becoming Mr. Consistent for this Everton team. Adamski says, big up Cam's PC. Yeah, he's right. It's done well today, to be fair. It's done well. Adamski also says, Godfrey with a crunching tackle on Agnelli, please. Or Pickford. Yeah, Godfrey, like I said, he's becoming Mr. Consistent. Now, I don't really have to talk much about Ben, do I? Because ultimately, you're getting an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 performance week in, week out, regardless of who we're playing, regardless of how we're playing as well. Even when Everton don't play well, even when Everton, you know, have a difficult game, or everybody has a difficult game, Ben Godfrey always puts in an 8 or 9 out of 10 performance. He's just that good. So yeah, there was a lot of individual performances. There was a lot of positives from that game. There was a lot of players who turned up, who haven't turned up for quite a while, and turned up in a fashion that we want to watch. That was exciting. We were exciting to watch on Friday. It was exciting football. I enjoyed it. I was bored out of my skin watching the Brighton game 2 weeks ago. I was frustrated out of my skin watching the Palace game. Don't get me wrong, I feel frustrated after this Spurs game, but actually watching the game, we were a lot better than we have been. Anyway, like I said, we will get in the comments shortly. By the way, if you're enjoying, please do leave a like. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. If you could share the stream, it would mean a great deal to me. Try and get as many people involved as we can. Yeah. We started well. We were creating chances. Like I said, Richarlison has that one chance. He gets slid in and he takes a shot just from, a little bit too far out. I think it's a bit comfortable for Hugo Lloris in the end. He deals with it comfortably. And then all of a sudden, out the blue, Tottenham Hotspur again. I'd say Tottenham had a period of 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the game, and maybe a period of 5 minutes in the first half where they were probably the team on top. They didn't create anything in those periods other than the goal that was created for them. But they just had a little bit more of the ball. Anyway, completely against the run of play. Everton are looking the more comfortable. We're looking the more confident. We're getting into the game now. We're creating chances. Tottenham go up the other end. Simple cross into the box. Michael Keane jumps for an header. It completely goes over him, which is just schoolboy for me. I know some people will blame Mason Holgate more so for the first goal, but for me, that's just absolutely schoolboy. You can't be jumping up for a header and have the excuse of, I missed. I know mistimed headers happen a lot in football, but in areas like that, in areas of the pitch like that, when you've got one of the most clinical strikers in world football behind you, you can't be afforded to mistime. You mistime an header on the halfway line or in the opposition box for a corner, then yeah, unlucky, fine. It doesn't end up in anything. But when you miss time in a header in your own box and you've got one of the most clinical strikers in world football standing behind you ready to tap it in, it's inexcusable for me. Mason Holgate's basically sat on his arse. He's not doing anything either, and Harry Kane latches on the end of it. It's a decent touch by Harry Kane, to be fair, but I still think it's arguably that both of them, I still think, are two of the easiest goals Harry Kane will score in his career because they were gifted to him. And yeah, Everton are ultimately 1-0 down in a game that we've been a lot better in. We weren't unbelievable. When I say a lot better, we weren't creating chances left, right and centre. We weren't unbelievable, but we were just a lot better than we have been. We were actually getting at Tottenham. We were putting a bit of pressure on them. We were putting them on their toes. We were forcing them into mistakes. And yeah, a silly defensive error puts us 1-0 down. Two centre-backs, like I said earlier on, playing in a back five formation when personally, I don't think they can play in a back five formation. I just don't think they are comfortable in it whatsoever, either of them. Certainly Michael Keane. And they've conceded the goal in a silly manner, and all of a sudden, completely against the run of play, Everton are 1-0 up against the Tottenham team who typically in those types of situations, defend, and Jose Mourinho, obviously he's been sacked from Tottenham now, but Jose Mourinho, who's managed them on Friday, typically likes to defend those types of situations. So anyway, Everton go 1-0 down, and again, you're sort of scratching your head thinking, what are we actually meant to do here? What are we meant to do? You can't accommodate. Carlo Ancelotti can't accommodate for a defensive mistake like that. You just can't. It's impossible to do so. But yeah, anyway, we go up the other end instantaneously. Instant reaction. Not an instant match reaction. An instant reaction to the goal, and we get a penalty. James Rodriguez is about to take a shot. I think it's Sergio Reguilon behind him. Takes him from behind, goes on the floor, and the referee blows, and it's a penalty. And look, whether you think it's a penalty or not, I said it in the instant match reaction, I don't really care, because how many times have we seen Tottenham given those types of penalties when Harry Kane's thrown himself on the floor? How many times have we seen Liverpool given those types of penalties when Mo Salah's thrown himself on the floor? Man United with Martial, Arsenal with Lacazette. How many times have we seen those clubs at the top of the league, or maybe not even in the league anymore, depending on what happens, but those clubs at the top of the league, how many times have we seen them given penalties in that situation? Bruno Fernandes does that every week, by the way. If you don't watch, I don't watch a lot of Manchester United, but every time I do watch Manchester United, that exact situation that led to the penalty, Bruno Fernandes does that every single week. He feels the most minimum of contact and he lashes himself on the floor, and more often than not, he wins fouls. Whether it's penalties, whether it's free kicks, he wins fouls by doing it. Yeah, look, I think it's a penalty anyway. I do. I think Sergio Reguilon puts 2 arms in his back. He mightn't be a lot of contact, but he puts 2 arms in his back and he clips his back heel. And and ultimately, if there's a tad bit of contact, it forces James into kicking the floor. It's a penalty. Let's be honest, it's a penalty. James goes down. Gylfi Sigurdsson steps up. Excellent penalty. Again, we talk about Gylfi Sigurdsson and he's had a lot of critics this season, and even though there won't be a lot of people criticising him after this game, even those people that have criticised him throughout the majority of the season, I think one thing we can safely say with Gylfi Sigurdsson is that when he gets a penalty and he's, whatever it is, 12 yards out, more often than not, they're in the back of the net and he buries them. He's very, very, very consistent penalty taker. He mightn't be consistent with much else, but he's a very consistent penalty taker. So as soon as Gylfi stepped up, I sort of knew, right, back of the net, we're back in this 1-1. It's, we didn't deserve to be 1-0 down. Back to square one now. Go out and create other chances and get back into it. We did. We got to 1-1. We then again in the first half we had another chance. James Rodriguez has one where he gets poked through, and I think he can only snap at it because it comes at him a bit too quick. Lloris makes the save. I think Richarlison had another couple as well. We had a couple of corners come in and headers that were wasted. But like I said, at this point, Gylfi Sigurdsson and James Rodriguez were just running the game, absolutely running the show, creating left, right and centre. Pair of them were absolutely excellent. And yet we go in at half time and you're thinking, right, 1-1, we've been the better team, we've been the more attacking team. Go out and get the winner, go out and put this Spurs team to bed. Because it was at this point, I think we all sort of felt, certainly as a fan base, and I hope the players and the manager felt like this, but it was at this point we all sort of felt this Tottenham team's here for the taking. They're not creating much. All you've got to do is watch out for Harry Kane and don't make another individual mistake. How ironic. But this Tottenham team, at this point, we knew wasn't creating an awful lot whatsoever. They didn't really seem to have the motivation. They didn't really seem to have the confidence, and we had the better of them. Anyway, we will go into talking about the second half in a moment. Let's get into the live comments, though, before we do so. Andy says, with Liverpool wanting to join the Super League, I hope Leeds smash them tonight. So do I, mate. So do I. Wimmy says, Cam lad, how's it going? I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. To be honest, though, do we hope... Well, Cameron's just unfocused then. Do we hope Leeds smash Liverpool tonight? Because if Leeds smash Liverpool tonight and the Premier League and UEFA say Liverpool are a part of those 6 clubs that can't play in the Champions League next season, and then Leeds end up going on a little bit of a run and gain momentum and win all of their games and go above Everton. Everton mightn't finish in the Champions League next season. I'm not kidding myself. We want Leeds to smash Liverpool, but I'm just saying it's something to think about. Football's up in the air at the moment. Eugene says about the Champions League new format. Yes. Wayme says hopefully we can still get 7th. To be fair, we probably want to ease into Europe with our squad. It was so foolish. The errors, though, both wrong. Holgate for the first, Keane for the second of them to leave Kane chasing the ball when they needed to mark Kane. Exactly, mate. He also says Holgate can't play left side. He never passes to the left and it negates Dean. Yeah, again, like I said, I just don't think either of them can play in that 5 at the back. But you're spot on there. Everton going into this game defensively had one job, really. One job, and that one job was to stop Harry Kane. That was all Everton had to do. Everton just had to stop Harry Kane from getting the ball, from creating chances, from scoring, from having those snapshots in the box. That's all we had to do. In fact, if we'd have just man-marked Harry Kane, we'd have probably won that game. And yet, we made 2 defensive errors, which allowed one of the most informed strikers in the world to be left on his own in the 6-yard box and score 2 easy goals. Keeper Boy says this is ridiculous. The Super League better not happen. Special One says the Shameless 6 should be docked points immediately. Apparently the Shameless 6 were already expecting backlash until not 100% committed. Well, as far as I'm concerned, when you agree something and it's such a ridiculous radical plan, you're committed. The damage is done now, as far as I'm concerned anyway. Daniel says, it's a sad day, mate. I'm really upset, but up to Toffees for not being involved. Exactly, mate. William says, we are being linked with the middle. Andy says, if we go back to a 4 at the back, our 2 centre-backs has to be Mina and Godfrey. Yeah, I'd agree with that one. Pixel says, Richarlison's come out against the Super League. Yeah, seen that today. He put a clapping emoji in response to Gary Neville's speech yesterday. If you haven't seen Gary Neville's speech, go and check it out. It's excellent. Adam says, Godfrey with a crunching tackle. Oh, we read that one before. Wimmy says, is your PC called Gylfi Sigurdsson? It's not. Adamski says, Godfrey a silent workhouse like Gay, absolutely. And Eugene says, Everton bottle it against Tottenham. Yeah. To be honest, it was how a game between Everton and Tottenham was always likely to plan out, wasn't it? One team being the much better team, but bottling it in the end, and that's exactly what happened. Anyway, yeah, we come out for the second half, and you're thinking, right, just go out, get the win in, no more silly mistakes. These aren't creating anything, just go and make them pay and win this game of football. And ultimately, again, we continue to create chances. Like I said, at this point, James Rodriguez and Gylfi are absolutely running the show. Alan's had a brilliant game as well. But yeah, and we're getting forward. Tottenham aren't really doing much. We had Seamus Coleman had come on at this point to add that little bit more of an attacking threat. Alex Iwobi, just to touch on Alex Iwobi, I don't want to talk too negatively, but just to touch on Alex Iwobi, I thought he was dross, let's be honest. Absolutely dross on Friday night. Again, there's that old age conversation about Alex Iwobi's best position. What's his best position? It's certainly not right wing back. That's something we know as a certain now. It's not right wing back. He can't play there whatsoever. Yeah, I think he was awful, to be honest. I think he was really, really poor. And ultimately, he didn't do anything. And in a game like that, where you really, really needed a player like Alex Iwobi to turn up, you needed them to turn up and sort of, put in a decent performance and maybe be that player who we need to get us over the line. He just couldn't again, and he was tossing. I think it was the right substitution to bring on Seamus Coleman for him. And as for Alex Iwobi's future at Everton, I really don't know what it holds, to be honest. I really don't know what it holds. But anyway, Alex Iwobi comes off, Seamus Coleman comes on, and yeah, within almost 3 minutes, Seamus Coleman firing it down that right hand side, brilliant run, absolutely ball busting run down that right, swings an unbelievable ball into the box, and who's on the end of it? It's none other than Gylfi Sigurdsson. And like I said, and I've said it 2 times already in this team, and I'll say it again, no matter what you think of Gylfi Sigurdsson, no matter how you think he's performed this season, that lad deserves so much credit for this game alone, because that second finish is no mug's finish. It's incredibly, incredibly difficult to do what Gylfi Sigurdsson done. He opens his body, he moves to the side, and it's his weak foot, by the way. That's his weak foot, mate. I can't even hop up the stairs on my weak foot. Never mind do that. He opens his body up, he lets it just bounce off his weaker foot, and it's an unbelievable finish. It's a brilliant finish. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Thanks for getting involved in the live comments. We'll get back in them shortly. It's an unbelievable finish. It really, really is. It's fantastic. Like I said, it puts Everton 2-1 up, and it was a goal that was worthy of winning a game of football. It was a goal that was worthy of being the winner in that game on that night. It was great. It was absolutely great from James. I think Richarlison had a part to play in it as well. He had a little dummy involved, and the ball in from Seamus is just exceptional, mate. It's to be fair, we said it before on the live stream with Taylor. Seamus Coleman's been excellent in the last couple of weeks or so. He's been absolutely fantastic, and to be honest with you, I think Seamus could have a massive, massive part to play between now and the end of the season. And I question whether Seamus Coleman in the back of his mind is thinking, this might be my last season playing consistently week in, week out in the Premier League for Everton, so I'm going to make the most of it. I'm going to make sure that every time I'm on that pitch, I'm giving it 100%, I'm getting forward, I'm creating chances, I'm doing exactly what I can to help the team out. Because over the last 3 games, Palace game, Brighton game, and this game, he's had a direct impact. He's either been the best player on the pitch, or in this case, he's come on and he's made a direct impact for us scoring the second goal. It was a brilliant ball in, absolutely unbelievable ball in. Gylfi opens his body perfectly, buries it into the bottom corner. It's a great finish. And we go 2-1 up, and you're sort of thinking, right, just hold out. Spurs aren't threatening us. Spurs aren't creating anything. Spurs aren't doing anything that should worry us. So just hold out. Don't give them any silly errors. Don't give them any opportunities. Just hold out. Yeah, embodiment of Everton this season was that sigh then out of my mouth. Yeah, literally, again, we're continuing to hold the ball. Tottenham had a spell of 5 or 10 minutes at this point where it was after the goal, actually, where they looked like they're more likely to score, but the goal again is ridiculous. Simple ball into the box. 2 simple balls into the box, by the way. Like, I stick with this, and I know it's if, buts, maybes, and I get that football doesn't work on this, but I stick with my original opinion. That was, if Yerry Mina's on that pitch, neither of those goals go in. If Yerry Mina's on that pitch on Friday, Everton don't concede twice. Another simple ball into the box. This time, Michael Keane decides to head it onto the arse of Mason Holgate, or the back of the head of Mason. I don't think you can blame Mason for that one. I think he can be blamed for the first one, but I don't think you can blame him for the second one. It's all Michael Keane. It's shocking defending by Michael Keane. And yeah, Michael Keane heads it onto the back of Mason Holgate, falls to Harry Kane. And yes, it's a great finish. Yes, it's a snapshot and it's difficult to take. But ultimately, Harry Kane will probably be sitting there in his hotel on Friday night thinking they're a couple of the easiest goals I'll ever score in my career because they've been handed to him on a plate. And ultimately, Tottenham are back in it. And yeah, then they had a little spell of 5 or 10 minutes where they attacked. They didn't do much. I think they hit the post maybe. I don't think they had any other shot on target. And then Everton go up the other end with minutes to go. And again, missed chances. Josh King comes on. Hammers plays a brilliant ball into Josh King. Yeah, he takes a shot and it's straight at the goalkeeper. It's not good enough. That shot then deflects off the goalkeeper and falls to Richarlison. He lashes it in the stands. Not good enough. And ultimately, the referee blows the final whistle, and it's another game, it's another example of just pure, it's another example of Everton throwing a game, but also, having the opportunities to win a game and throwing it through our own stupid individual mistakes. And this wasn't your Brighton, this wasn't your Fulham, it wasn't your Newcastle, it wasn't your Burnley. This was a game against the Tottenham team who we are in a fight for Europe with. Forget your European Super League for the moment. We don't know what's going to happen with that. We don't know whether the teams will get kicked out or whatever. Forget that for the moment. As things stand right now, this Tottenham team is Everton's nearest competitor to finishing in the Europa League. They were a point above us on Friday evening before kick-off. 3 points would have taken us above them with still a game in hand and given us that momentum between now and the end of the season. Now, I just hope that all of this European Super League crap and all of this talk gives Everton a little bit of a kick up the arse and a little bit of motivation to say, you know what, if these teams do leave the Premier League and they're expelled and they don't play, Everton are then the big team. Then Everton are the biggest team in the league if that happens. And the expectation on Everton is to win that league, to win the Premier League. Don't get me wrong, Leicester are a very good team, West Ham have had a good season, but if Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, City and Tottenham, even though Tottenham aren't really included, all leave the Premier League next season, I expect Everton to win that Premier League trophy within 2 years. Comfortable. And Champions League isn't even a discussion. We're in it every year. That's my expectation. So my hope is, going forward now, look, I don't think Carlo Ancelotti will be talking to his players about the European Super League. I think if anybody asks, it'll be, we're not in it. We never got asked to be in it. We don't agree to be in it. We're just focusing on the Premier League. And that's right. That's the right mentality, because let Arsenal on Friday night have that on their mind. Let Arsenal put in a shocking performance on Friday night because, because they've got all of that on their mind. Let, I don't know, Liverpool put in an awful performance so we can leapfrog them. Let Tottenham worry and we can leapfrog them. They've just sacked their manager, or should I say, I think he's walked. Let Manchester City worry about it. We shouldn't be worrying about it. All as we have to worry about is going out and getting 3 points. And let's make a statement for this league. Go out and batter Arsenal. Go out and absolutely obliterate and embarrass Arsenal on Friday and go and get the 3 points. Because above anything, European Super League, all of the things that have gone on in the last 24 hours, we need to win on Friday. If we have any... What I hope doesn't happen, and I said it in the stream before, I'll repeat it again, what I hope doesn't happen is that Everton now become complacent, because we know we're capable of becoming complacent. We've become complacent on a number of times already this season. Fulham at home, Burnley, Newcastle twice, etc., Leeds at home. What I just hope doesn't happen now is these players sit back and go, yeah, if all these teams leave the league, we'll be the big thing, we'll be brilliant, we'll be in the Champions League, we don't need to worry about that. I just hope that mentality, and I don't think it will, but I just pray that mentality doesn't creep in. I pray that the mentality remains what it was 2 or 3 days ago before all of this European Super League discussion, which is get your head down and work. And I also hope that on Friday we see an Everton performance that is like the Everton performance that we seen last Friday against Tottenham. I hope we don't see the same result, and I hope we don't make the same stupid defensive errors, but I hope by that I mean I hope we turn up, I hope we get at them, I hope we put pressure on them, I hope we we actually press them high, we force them into making mistakes, we force them into making errors, because Arsenal aren't a great team, Tottenham aren't a good team, and Arsenal aren't a good team. So my expectation is that we go out and we beat that Arsenal team on Friday night. But yeah, obviously who knows what's going to happen to football in the next few weeks and months or so, but the reality of this game was Everton had opportunities to win the game, we didn't take them, and we dropped points through our own stupid defensive errors, which isn't good enough. Gareth says, doesn't matter now, to be honest, lad, after the events of the last 24 hours. Well, I know, but we always do a game review. And we have to do a game review. Adamski says, league basically over now. Gareth says, the league is ours, mate, next season. Adamski says, when did Gylfi last miss a pen? I don't know. Whammy says, no, everyone's complaining about the Super League. It's not going to happen, but maybe the clubs are just pushing for some control. We complain about the refs and rules, fixtures all the time. Maybe this will make him buck up their ideas. Potentially, maybe it's just a power play to scare UEFA in the Premier League. I don't know. I still think there should be repercussions for those teams for even having the audacity to do it or to think about it. Whammy says his best position on the bench is for Crystal Palace. His best position is the bench for Crystal Palace. Ewan says DCL is back for Everton against Arsenal, by the way. Let's hope so. And Whammy says second biggest. Don't forget about West Ham. Oh yeah, of course. Couldn't forget about West Ham. That massive club. Yeah. Anyway, look, we're gonna finish it up there then. Listen, it was disappointing, it was frustrating, and none of us have a clue what's going on with football anymore. I don't know if Everton will be playing in the Europa League next season. I don't know if Everton will be playing in the Champions League. I don't know if Everton won't be playing in Europe. I don't know if the Premier League's going to continue next season. I don't know. Nobody knows. We're just going to have to sort of keep an eye out and see what happens. But we will be keeping you updated on the channel as and when it happens, and obviously we'll still have the usual content. Everton news doesn't go away. Transfer news, injury news, news about game. We'll have the game preview up to the Arsenal game on Thursday. Don't worry about that. We'll have a news update stream out within the next couple of days, talking a little bit more about what we talked about before with Taylor, about Moise Keane, about Everton fighting for Europe still, about the goals. So nothing of that changes. We'll just add that content on top regarding the European Super League and what happens around that. So listen, big thanks for watching. We did do 2 streams earlier on today, one about Everton being affected by the European Super League and one just basically me ranting about it. So if you haven't checked those out, please do so. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Big thanks to everybody for joining us in the live comments. If you're watching this YouTube video, massive thank you. Leave your thoughts in the comments and we'll get involved with as many of them as possible. Like I said, a frustrating night, an upsetting night, because it was through our own mistakes that we lost. Well, we didn't lose that game, but that we dropped points in that game. And yeah, ultimately we have to be fully focused on Arsenal now, and we have to go out and win. What positives I can take, like I said, Gylfi Sigurdsson was very good, James was very good, Alan was very good, Ben Godfrey very good, and the way in which we played was a lot better. Let's be honest, the style in which we played was a lot more expansive. It was a lot more exciting than what we have been playing, so hopefully we can continue that in the next coming weeks. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Big thanks to everybody for joining us in the live comments. Massive thanks to everybody for joining us as a YouTube video as well. Leave your thoughts in the comments and we'll get involved with as many of them as possible. Big thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.